All right. Welcome everyone. This is our very last Oil Talks. Oh my gosh, and we have a wonderful presentation for you today. I'm Dr. Josie Schmidt. Welcome everyone to our Visionary Leaders, Essential Wellness, Jasmine and Juniper, all of our teams. Welcome to our Oil Talks. And we just had a fun time before we started the recording. We are laughing. I love the energy. So I thought about, Vivian and I, Dr. Vivian, who's going to be getting on in a second and giving the presentation, we were talking about what would be a nice oil for opening and grounding. And she's going to be talking about both cypress and black spruce. So if you have one or both of those, I'd like to get those out. And I think this is really appropriate for us to work with right now in just coming in, because there is a little bit of mourning. You know, this is our last oil talk, and there's, as Vivian was saying, a little sweet sorrow. And one of the oils that we think about in the grieving process is cypress. And part of why we do is because it is the oil of flow. And so we do not want to get stuck in a stagnant place of kind of grieving. We want to keep everything flowing. We want to have some laughter. We want to have some fun and work with that flow that both cypress and black spruce help us with. So let's start our call with that. So I would like everyone, and Vivian is Dr. Viv. I'm just calling
whatever,
her here.
Whatever, Josie.
So, however, if you know, she's going to tell us some really specific places later, but if everyone just wants to get it into their hands, a little bit on the wrists. Yeah.
I don't have any, but that's okay. I'm enjoying it through
Siberian fir, any of the tree. If you got frankincense, if you got a tree, go for that. Yeah?
Okay, I'll go for that.
Okay. Let's just take a moment to take 3 deep inhalations of these oils.
Oh, I know.
I'd like to give thanks for this entire time of our community coming together with Oil Talks, all that we have shared together and flowed together. We are all so very grateful for this time that we have had, this sharing. We are going to continue on our weekly calls that are Wednesday at 10 a.m. Not next Wednesday the 6th, but after that. And so please come and join us every Wednesday at 10 a.m. for the first half hour. It's going to be mini oil talk. We're just going to be diving into topics and sharing and communing together. And then we're going to talk some, going into some business talk. And you're welcome to join for that as well. So, oh, thank you, Black Spruce and Cypress. I love it. I love the flow. Let's stay in the flow. So I want to introduce our speaker today. We are joining us with incredible presentation is Vivian Engelson, licensed acupuncturist, Chinese medicine practitioner. She has been practicing Chinese medicine clinically for over 35 years. She is also a functional medicine practitioner, and she has studied with some of the great experts and authors in the essential oil communities, such as Robert Tisserand, Jeffrey Yuen, Peter Holmes. She is a wealth of amalgamated information. She has also completed Bastyr University's program on their studies with essential oils, which is no small feat. And she has created her own program for healthcare workers in LA, in the hospitals, and integrating essential oils, helping them to do that. So she is just has such a wide breadth of knowledge, and I am so pleased to turn it over to I like to call her Dr. Vivian. I want to give a brief overview of what because she's going to talk about a lot. So today, what you're going to hear about is some of the answering and going into more detail about some of the questions that a lot of people have had, like, what's the difference between a whole food vitamin and a synthetic vitamin? What's the big deal about whole food vitamins, right? A lot of us ask those questions and would like to know more. What, let's see, why do some people have problems when they take the LLV? What's that all about? What's behind that? And going deeper into then the background about some of those problems, spleen dampness, and how that affects digestion, going into tongue diagnosis, going into points on spleen and stomach, and food energetics. Then she's also going to talk about what is so amazing about adaptogenic herbs, right? Like ginkgo, and then diving deeper into our Mito2 Max and why that is just such a powerful supplement. And then also some really great immune hacks. So let's see if we can get all that in without further ado. Miss Dr. Vivian, take it away.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. And then, is that good?
Yes, you did it. Yay.
Okay. Yay, yay.
Yay!
Hi, everybody. It's such an honor and pleasure to be with you all today. And as all these talks were going on, I was just so blown away at all the content and everything. And people just didn't, when a lot of the questions came up, there wasn't enough time sometimes to answer in detail some of the questions. And so I had this idea about just going into some of these questions to clarify a few things. And so I just called it, driving a few points home. So I'm just going to jump right into it. Whole food derived vitamins versus megadose synthetic vitamins. And, this is such an important thing. A whole food vitamin is derived from basically a whole food matrix that's made up of a very complex chemistry of all the micronutrients that are contained in that matrix. Synthetic vitamins are just made up of singular chemical isolates. Well, what are singular chemical isolates? Where else do you see that? That's what drugs are. Drugs are singular chemical isolates, and that's why we have so many side effects from taking drugs. What people don't realize, these singular chemical isolates, when you take them in, they're devoid of all those cofactors, the enzymes, the trace minerals, and the micronutrients that are in whole foods. So here's the deal. When you take something into your body, the liver requires all of those cofactors for metabolism. And all of those cofactors are present in a whole food, whether you're eating a whole food or if you're taking a vitamin supplement that is derived from whole food. And so therefore, those vitamins are highly bioavailable and easy to metabolize. When you take a synthetic vitamin that has that chemistry missing, in order for it to metabolize, what it's going to do is pull stores from your body of those missing cofactors to be able to metabolize. And then if they're missing, what it's going to do is just store in the liver until those cofactors are present so it can metabolize. So there can end up being a toxic buildup. And they won't metabolize until those nutrients are available for the metabolism. So here's the thing. This is where this issue comes up. Why do some people have problems when they start taking LLV? So here now you have somebody, and most people really who have taken supplements or they haven't taken supplements have taken supplements that are just synthetic. And So when someone starts taking the LLV, all of a sudden they have all of these cofactors present for metabolism. Well, then the liver goes, oh my God, yay, thank you, and can let go of some of these toxic stored substances. And that's why people can experience a detox reaction. So don't ever feel like, you know, when someone takes an LLV, if they have a reaction like this, like it's bad or wrong, this is what's going on. Secondarily, why people can have difficulty in when they first start taking LLV is they can have a weakness in their digestion, and they might be deficient in digestive enzymes. So, you know, I think when any speaker talks, they'll talk about, oh my God, I love this product. Well, here's a product. I love, love, love this product. I feel that the alchemy of these digestive enzymes is so perfect. And then it also, you know, it's accompanied with the essential oils. This is just such a great product. So what's, I think, so important to understand is every metabolic process in the body requires enzymes. Just take that in for a second. Every metabolic process in the body requires enzymes, not just digestion. So when you're deficient in metabolic enzymes, the body will pull them from your digestive enzymes. So that can end up creating a deficiency. And I just wanted to put a note in here. This is kind of an aside, because a lot of people have problems with GERD or acid reflux, and they think that it's you know, they've got too much acid in their stomach, and it's kind of a misconception actually of what's going on there. So I just wanted to explain that a little bit. What happens is when you're deficient, like in your hydrochloric acid and your enzymes, your food transit time will be too long in your stomach, and the food will sit there too long. It will ferment, creating acids from the fermented food and gas. What happens is that gas will push open your esophageal sphincter, and that's why people experience acid reflux. So what you really need to do to change that is support your digestion so your food transit time isn't too long. I love this. This is Dr. Josie's alternative protocol. So when you find that you have people that, you know, maybe you can tell they've never done any digestive support or vitamin support or anything, and they're babies, you might think about starting them out with this. And Josie has other resources with regard to the protocols. Do you want to pipe in for a second, Josie, and say just an addendum to that?
We're working on, both on Essential Wellness and Visionary Leaders, a whole LLV research, its own page. So we'll have this on there too, and we have this alternate protocol and how to build up to the LLV, how to start with a baseline first, and a little video, 2.5-minute video from me about how to work with this alternate protocol. And it has worked for many, many people who've had different, for various different reasons, but definitely what you've just spoken about, difficulty digesting and being able to incorporate the LLV right off the bat. And usually between 1 to 3 months of doing this protocol, and they're able to then start up slowly.
Thanks, Josie.
Yeah.
And I just put a note here. I mean, Josie has done so many amazing presentations. For those of you who haven't checked out all of the archive videos, do yourself a favor, and if nothing else, maybe once a week, go into the history there. These just the information is phenomenal. And especially for those of you who have doctors that you're working with or signing up, this is a phenomenal resource. I just wanted to throw this in here because there's so many digestive symptoms, and I'm going to kind of just talk about one in particular. So I don't want you to be confused. Well, what about this and what about that and whatever? There are many, but for the purposes of this talk, I'm just going to kind of narrow it down to sort of one thing because of a question that comes up often. And what that question usually is this question about cold. And so I just wanted to do a little bit of an overview. I know Diane Del Reyes has, she developed a whole class where she goes into explaining all this stuff in more detail. So if you're interested in that, you can, study her with her class. But I'm just going to do a quick overview here. And in Chinese medicine, with regard to our digestion, we have in the function of our spleen, which is in our earth element, the spleen is the yin aspect, the stomach is the yang aspect, but I'm going to kind of focus on the yin aspect. And its function is transporting and transforming or digesting your food and fluid to turn it into qi and blood. So the things that really affect the spleen and make it not work efficiently are this energetic of cold and damp. And in Chinese medicine, we call them exogenous factors. And this can come in the form of environmental factors like the weather, like cold, damp weather can affect your spleen, and then internally foods. And okay, so look at the foods. They're all the foods America loves. I grew up on dairy, wheat, and sugar. I don't know how I'm alive today. I mean, that's what, the basis of my diet was. And when I say dairy, what we're talking about mostly is milk and cheese. Not butter doesn't have that so much that damp quality, and some people do okay with eggs, even though they can be a bit damp too. But wheat and sugar, chocolate, too much cold raw food, and processed denatured food are what we call, those kinds of things engender damp or create damp in the body. And I just threw this slide in here because I wanted to drive this point home, because everybody's probably experienced brain freeze, where you eat ice cream too fast and all of a sudden your brain goes into this place, you have a headache. And what that is from is the blood vessels constricting. And so my point is, if that's doing that really intense cold food, it's doing that to your brain, what do you think it's doing to your stomach? Just take that in for a second, because you're freezing your stomach out too. Okay, wait, I want to back up for a second. I was going to do a warning. For those of you who are a little like squeamish or whatever, the next two pictures are tongue pictures. If you don't want to look at them, I'll tell you when I go to the next slide. But in Chinese medicine, for me, tongue diagnosis is my greatest friend. It makes my job so easy because the tongue doesn't lie. And here's some examples of when the spleen isn't transforming food and fluid properly. Think about it. If you're not going to transform fluid, it's not going to, what they call in Chinese medicine, down bear properly to the kidneys. And so you're going to hold on to it. So what you'll see is in the tongue, that's so revealing, is the tongue will be swollen and fat. And so when it lays in the mouth, you'll see teeth marks on the edges. The picture on the left is probably for all of you acupuncturists who are on the call, is so common. You just see this all the time. The one on the right is a more severe case where you can see those teeth marks are really embedded. And then on the coat on the tongue, you have more of a damp, what we call damp turbidity. And I threw this in there because, you know, I was telling Josie yesterday, I'm kind of a tongue stalker. If you if you ever talk to me and you notice I might not be looking in your eyes, I'm looking in your mouth. I can't help it. It's what I do. And you might have a look at your tongue every once in a while if you feel like your digestion isn't working too well, to see if you've got a swollen tongue with teeth marks. And I put this slide in here because this is such an important part of digestion. And what we say in Chinese medicine is chew your food until it becomes a warm soup in your mouth before swallowing. And so I put that in there because or you may think, oh God, I never drink cold drinks or never eat ice cream. Well, I do, you know, but what I've gotten in the habit of, if I'm eating something like that, I'll hold it in my mouth until it gets warm before I swallow it, just to give my stomach a break. And then these are the oils I use to the rescue to offset that warming. And you ever notice how your different types of oils will gravitate to different rooms in the house? Like these, the ginger, cardamom, clove, cinnamon, coriander, those are kind of my culinary flavor balancing oils. So those are always in my kitchen. And also the En Garde as well, because when I am eating, like, you know, kind of cold things, and I'll show that in the next slide, I like these oils on hand to kind of balance things out. The geranium I use topically, and as we go on, I'm going to show you where I apply the geranium. But a lot of people, the reason why I like putting the En Garde in there, all the oils in the En Garde are very warm and icy, so they can offset that cold and damp. And so, you know, I don't have a lot of culinary skills, so a lot of times my breakfast and lunch can look like the upper slide. Let's just drink my meals, you know, because I don't have time to make something, or I don't even want to make something. And what happens is, you know, there's a difference between nutritional content and then the energetics of food. So these foods, even though nutritionally, like if you broke down the chemistry, they are very high in nutritional content, full of vitamins and minerals and just the best of everything. But the problem is, energetically, they're very cold in nature. And so when you eat foods like this all the time, you can have a tendency to kind of put a lot of stress on your spleen and have too much cold and dampness. So a lot of times, you know, if I'm really lazy and I'm in a rush or whatever, and I'm having a smoothie, I'll just, after the smoothie or whatever, I'll just pop an En Garde beadlet in my mouth to offset that cold. Or even if it's just a salad, I'll pop an En Garde beadlet in my mouth to offset that cold. And I find that, you know, my body loves using the oils in that way. And one of my other favorite things to do, aside from the En Garde beadlet, is I'll just put sometimes just a drop of ginger in my mouth, or maybe add that to my smoothie, just to give that warm quality. And so the points that I love using to tonify the earth element, and we'll try to make this easy. But with the first point on the left, REN 12 or CV 12, how you find that point, and what I just want to specify for you know, basically with this point, how you find it is halfway in between your navel and then the midpoint in between your nipples. It's halfway in between there. Now, if some of you women have really large breasts and your breasts hang lower than that midpoint, how you can kind of find your midpoint is halfway between the top of your shoulder and your elbow, just kind of approximately halfway between there, and go over towards the middle. Then you can measure halfway in between your navel and your midpoint there, and that's going to be your CV12. That is a great point for applying digestive oils. And, you know, some of you may have wondered, why didn't I put in DigestZen or Slim and Sassy? These are also great oils for your digestion, but I was kind of focused on the damp transforming, and so that's why I kind of put all those sort of kind of warm and spicy dance transforming oils. With the pericardium point, how you find this, I think you can see this. If you kind of do this with your wrist, you're going to see some prominent tendons sticking out. And what you can do when you kind of get an idea where they are to measure where the point is, put your two fingers there right at you have your wrist crease, put your two fingers, and then take your third finger and put it right in between those two tendons. And that's basically going to be where your pericardium 6 is. And that's the point on your lower left. This is a great point for applying digestive oils. Stomach 36. Let's see if I can show you here how to find this one. On your knees, before you bend your knees, when you hold your knees straight, you're going to feel like in your knees, you have these two little holes. They're called the eyes of the knees. I want you to find those first. Have your knees straight. Find those. There's two little holes. That's the easiest way, I think. Find that. So,
Vivian, if you stop sharing your screen, everyone will be able to see you better.
Oh, okay. I'm going to stop the share. Thank you, Aisha. Is that good? Did I do it?
You did it.
Yep, you did it.
Okay. Okay. So I'll repeat that. So first have your, let me see if I can do that. Have your knees straight and feel the two little eyes of your knee in your knee there. And then especially keep, well, depending, I'm using my right leg. So I'm going to keep whatever finger, my index finger from my left hand I have on the right eye of the knee. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my other hand right below that. Does that make sense? I'm going to just place it right below there. And then I'm going to lift this finger and just feel you have this bone in the middle of your leg, and your index finger is going to rest right next to that. And that's a measurement. That's what they call 1 finger breadth. And then your stomach 36 is going to be right below your 4 fingers, and then 1 finger breadth away from that bone. And there's your stomach 36. Does that make sense? That's about the easiest way. Sometimes, you know, a lot of acupuncturists have a hard time finding this point, but I find that that's kind of, if I'm teaching that point, that's the easiest way to find that point. And then the spleen meridian on the feet is easy. That's just your arches. You don't, there. See your spleen meridian, just if, and this is where I love putting geranium. Geranium is an amazing oil to transform damp. And I was talking to Josie about this. You can actually put it all the way up your leg if you want to, but for the purposes of this talk, this is a great place to put digestive oils. And I don't know if some of you know this or not, but a lot of times diabetics will have a lot of pain in their arches, and that's why, because this, you know, their spleen isn't doing very well. Okay, I think we got all those, right?
Woo-hoo.
And here's, okay. Okay, my thing isn't working.
Vivian, here's a really great question from Susan. Does anyone
Okay.
know if you don't hit the exact acupuncture point, for those of us who are not acupuncturists, can
Yeah.
you just rub the oil in the general area and have it be effective?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because, you know, I mean, your organ that's, well, for one thing, like if you're on your CV12, you know, your stomach is pretty big. So that point in particular, but yeah, if you don't worry about like you know, like you're gonna needle in to just pinpoint it, but just the general area, you'll be fine. You'll hit it if you just get the general area for sure. And that's a good question. And this final note, because I have had so many people go, oh my God, I started taking Terrazyme and I started losing weight, and I've had such a difficult time losing weight. And whenever I start, you know, and then they'll stop taking it. And they said, well, I started gaining weight again. And as soon as I start taking Terrazyme, I start losing weight. Well, now you know why. It's because they weren't transforming their food into energy, and Terrazyme really helps that. And then the other thing, you know, you can think about is possibly your diet. You know, all I do is eat salads. Why am I not losing any weight? Well, this is why. Because just that there's too much dampness in the body, and the damp is very heavy and hard for the body to transform. Okay, that was driving that point home. Okay, this, I have to say, when I first started studying adaptogenic herbs and I saw these pictures, what these are, this is the ginkgo tree before and after the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. So, I mean, is this a blow mind? So that's like the picture on the left is after the bomb was dropped. Same trees, you know, here and now, and those trees are going, yeah, I'm good. It's going to take more than that to get rid of me. I mean, what kind of power in plant medicine? I just, that just blew me away. I mean, I still, every time I look at it, I go, oh my God, are you kidding me? And so if you don't remember anything else, you'll probably never forget the pictures of the ginkgo tree, but just think about an adaptogenic herb and its ability to adapt to stress. This is just an example. It is beyond the pale. This is beyond the pale. So, you know, here's a list of basically all the things adaptogenic herbs do. And so you can imagine these are so good for your immune system and enhancing your vital energy and endurance. I mean, you can Google adaptogenic herbs and it's hard to narrow it down. So, but just remember at least that you're going to, you're going to increase your ability to adapt to stress. It's really immune enhancing. and improve your resistance to disease. Time for a peppermint beadlet. So we have ginkgo in our alpha CRS. The main takeaways from ginkgo is a phenomenal herb for circulation and microcirculation. So people that have problems in that area always think of ginkgo, and especially in the brain. This is one of the main herbs for really helping to preserve your brain. It's just such an awesome herb for that. I mean, look at those delicate little leaves. Would anyone think that that's going to survive an atomic bomb? I mean, anyway, and so then, I mean, secondarily, like if I obviously I think of it for you know, a preventative for radiation exposure, and we're exposed to radiation every day from our cell phones. And then on the bottom, I just put a note about it being a zinc transporter, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more later. So then the next thing I want to talk about are the adaptogenic herbs in Mitomax 2. And we have cordyceps, ginseng, and what's the other one? Ashwagandha. And then we also have quercetin in there. This is an amazing formula for having a bunch of adaptogenic herbs all together. So ginseng is probably one of the most widely researched herbs. And it, in terms of all of the adaptogenic herbs, is the most stimulating. So the only warning I have about this is with the Mitomax 2, it's a formula you don't want to take too late. And I usually say your cutoff time is kind of, you know, in the afternoon, somewhere between 3 and 5, depending on how late you stay up. What do you recommend, Josie, for cutoff time with Mitomax 2 for people?
I usually say take it for a morning or afternoon dose.
Yeah,
not
that's
evening
what
dose.
yeah, this is a Mitomax 2 you don't want to take at night. So ginseng is one of these herbs when you think of people being really deeply depleted and you want a real restorative action. It's great for athletic recovery, and again, good for the brain. Kind of everybody knows about ginseng. Cordyceps is an amazing herb for the immune system, strengthening core energy. It's kind of specific in how it affects strengthening the kidneys, whether it's TCM diagnostics or Western diagnostics, which is kind of unique. And then its effect on the HPA axis in terms of how the body will run to stress. Also has an effect on keeping blood sugar in a healthy range. Ashwagandha. What's really interesting about ashwagandha is that it's one of these herbs that has the ability to be an adrenal tonic, but it's calming at the same time. So if this was in its, you know, just singular by itself, it's one of these herbs that you could take later in the day, and it's not going to affect your sleep. But what's so cool is, you know, I always think about the alchemy of Alevi doTERRA formulas. They're just so well thought out. So you have ginseng that is this really stimulating herb, and then they put in the ashwagandha that is a really, you know, adrenal tonic, but it doesn't have that stimulating quality that the ginseng is. So it kind of balances it out, and it's actually it can be used for you know, in anxiety, and it's very mood elevating and immune boosting. Green tea, you know, there's so much research on green tea, and it's one of those premier antioxidants. It's phenomenal. There's been so many studies on, you know, the effect of drinking green tea daily and the immune benefits. I love, like, secondarily how it affects the cholesterol. And the thing about, there is caffeine in green tea, but it's also high in a chemical constituent called L-theanine. So that's why most of the time when you drink green tea, you won't get that same buzz like you do from drinking coffee, because how it increases the activity of GABA. And I put a little note on the bottom again, zinc transporter. So I just wanted to throw in this slide about zinc, because zinc is such an important component of what we want to be taking in to increase our immunity. And I love the atomic structure of zinc. It's so beautiful. It has such a strong ability to boost the immune system, and it's very antiviral in action. And so I wanted to put in here that there's the herbs, and some of them that I mentioned already about them being zinc transporters, like the ginkgo and the green tea are zinc transporters. Excuse me just one second. The problem with zinc is it's difficult for it to get in the cells. And so it's important to have zinc transporters present to enhance the absorption in the cell. Those transporters are called ionophores. And I wanted to kind of really single this out, because I found this to be really interesting. Sort of at the beginning of COVID, there was a lot of research about hydroxychloroquine, and I listened to several presentations from, you know, a bunch of functional medicine doctors and who were using it in their practice. And what they talked about, the reason why it you know, they feel like it works is it's an ionophore, so it floods the cells with zinc. But this research that had come out of China was what they found. They were researching many things, and what they found was that zinc was able to flood the cells with cypress oil was able to flood the cells with zinc the same way that the hydroxychloroquine did. And I thought, oh my God, that's amazing. So my little takeaway there is that I would, you know, as an immune hack, you could put cypress oil on the bottoms of your feet or diffuse it. And anyway, that's my little cypress oil takeaway. And then in relationship to quercetin, we have Mitomax-2 and alpha-CRS, and it's also a zinc transporter. And these are the foods that are high in quercetin: onions, peppers, vegetables, broccoli, apples, berries, cherries, grapes. And my screen is cut off, but I think you guys can see it. And then here's a little immune hack that I have. This point's pretty easy to find, kidney 3 and black spruce. And I learned this from Peter Holmes, who's he's actually an amazing acupuncturist who he's written incredible texts on translating essential oils into Chinese medicine. But anyway, so Peter Holmes basically said, this is like a fantastic way to really support your immune system. And this point is easy to find. Okay, I'm gonna stop share. Maybe I don't even need to show you, but just if you put your finger on your ankle bone and just go straight back to the middle, in between where your leg and foot come together, you're going to feel a hole. Maybe I'll show you. Let me see if I can stop share, and we'll see if I can do this. So let's see, where is my foot? Okay, so here's your ankle bone. You're just going to go straight back, and your finger just will drop into the hole right there. And it's kind of halfway between the tip of your ankle bone and the edge of your leg. And that's kidney 3. And you can put your black spruce on there and support your immune system that way. Okay, now I need to go back here. Okay. Oh, my other little immune hack is, I just threw this in here. This is my mask I wear when I go out. In the car, I have cotton balls and essential oils. So when I go into a store, whatever essential oil I feel like breathing in, I'll put on the cotton ball, I'll stuff it inside my mask. And then, when I'm in the store, I'm breathing in this essential oil the whole time, and I can change it out, every time. And I love that. And I'll tell you something, if you want to even get more geeky than that, you can, and you got to be careful with this, but you can actually put those little pieces of cotton right up your nose. I got to be careful with that because the oils are really strong. But if you're really concerned and you don't want anything getting past anything, you can do that. I learned that from Peter Holmes too. That's what he does. And I'll tell you something, he is very conservative. And so I'm going to quote him. He said, "Nothing is getting past those essential oils." And I thought, wow, I can't even believe he said that, but he did. So anyway, thank you, Peter. Let's see if we can do the next one. Oh, I wanted to throw this in here because, I think most everybody knows that getting out in the sun increases your vitamin D levels. But I saw this, that there was this little thing that came out from Georgetown University Medical Center when they talked about it also energizes the T cells. And I thought, wow, I didn't know that. So I just wanted to throw that in there. So get out in the sun every day, everybody, if you can. And then I wanted to end with this. I don't want you to forget this. Laughter boosts the immune system. And one thing that I want to say, and this is maybe a little plug about, number one, our team is so cool. And at the, if those of you, if you hadn't been able to tell already by all these amazing presentations, at convention, our brilliant team has a party and we all get together and celebrate, and it's really fun. And anyway, this year, Ellen Weichert had a little photo booth in the back, and it was fun. So we all went in there in props, and we all got goofy and laughed and just shared, our love. So, if you have a chance and we're not in quarantine, come to convention, meet all of us, and laugh. And thank you so much. And I will stop.
Yeah, no, you want to share the screen? That was so incredible, Vivian. I thank you so much for that, right? The laughter. Yeah. So we have some great questions.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to take it back to Terrazyme, and then we'll move down, okay, through people's questions. And I think I'll just stay on with you because I think we'll get into kind of just fun discussion. This is a common question, I think, about you know, some things you don't want to take all the time, right? Things will downregulate hormones in our body. So the question was with Terrazyme, do you want to, you know, take it all the time? Could you possibly turn off the production of digestive enzymes, that kind of a thing? And I think we could talk about that. I mean, unlike a lot of things, to me, the answer to this one is no. Right? If you feel the same way, like, yeah. Someone else said, oh, right, as we get older, our enzyme production goes way down, and it really does go way down. And
anybody that knows me and eats out with me knows that I always have, I don't ever go out without my little box of pills. Everybody, and I, you know what's kind of cool about that? I've had cute young waiters run after me out of restaurants saying, hey, you forgot your, and you know, so that's a good little way of meeting people. Leave your box of pills on your table.
But in the sense of like, from the perspective of the enzymes, our bodies are under such assault from our Western diet and our food. And so metabolically, our enzyme production from the pancreas, these are pancreatic enzymes. There are stomach enzymes. So there's a few different enzymes that we create. Hydrochloric acid in our stomach, pepsin in our stomach. The pancreatic enzymes come from the pancreas. And if you live a life of eating absolutely no sugar and absolutely no white flour, or anything that is white that isn't a vegetable, pasta, bread, anything like that, then maybe your pancreas is going to be in decent shape by the time you're like 50. But most Western people, right, this assault on our pancreas, and the enzymes are just going down anyways, and we can use support. But then there's this other fail-safe, which is that if you don't need the enzymes, the body basically just uses the pancreatic enzymes as kind of like little Pac-Man helping against inflammation and eating up unwanted inflammatory mediators, things like that. So the body has different ways than just using the enzymes as digestive enzymes.
Right.
So, yeah.
I think that's a really important part. You know, I can have a tendency to be kind of geeky in terms of, I like to research what therapies different doctors use in a wide range of applications. And people that are dealing with really serious diseases, I don't know if I want to say the name, but starts with a C. And one of the main things that those doctors will do in some of these old therapies, the first thing they will do will put people on high doses of pancreatic enzymes, not just with their food, but away from their food, to do just exactly what Josie just said, start breaking down all of this crud that's being held. And they're very anti-inflammatory. The enzymes are just so valuable to overall health.
All right, so we also have a question about shelf life. Someone had theirs for, they said 2 years, cool and dark stored. I think that should be fine. But you know.
It's probably fine, but what I've got to ask you is, okay, why was it a shelf for 2 years?
Watch out the answer, yeah. All right, so someone who had a heart attack and is on beta blockers, that's a particular situation. What I just say is we can't really specify for that. You have to be pretty careful with beta blockers, really do. That's heavy meds. But let's talk a little bit. Can I go into a couple of the other ingredients in Mito2 Max just for a sec?
Yeah.
I got to get on my readers for this bottle.
Nobody's ever going to have the hook on Josie to take her off stage.
No, I love going over the ashwagandha and the cordyceps, but I mean, there's so many stars in Mito2 Max.
It's an amazing formula.
I talk about the deep blue polyphenol snacks so much, but like this is just as amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do a study here. I'm putting this in the feed. We'll study it up. We'll put it up also about the oligonol in here. So the oligonol is this really cool form of lychee berry, and it's again one of those really big fat polyphenol. Is this great antioxidant, but not easily absorbable and usable by our bodies. And so these great Japanese researchers figured out a way to kind of link the lychee, I don't know how to say it, together with green tea extract in a way that makes it much more bioavailable for our bodies. And so it's 50 milligrams, which is a good dose, but it's definitely worth much more than that in terms of its availability and absorption capacity. And so here's a study about I loved seeing it about oligonol and very specific, prevents weight gain and improves lipid profile in overweight and obese Saudi females. So you can look at the study, and these women had, it was very specific to diabetes and to lipid profiles and to weight process. And so what oligonol is really touted for is its ability to help with the cardiovascular system, with circulation of all types. And it's a powerful antioxidant polyphenol, but having a specificity with that ability with our circulation, together with a very hefty dose of acetyl L-carnitine, HCl, so hydrochloric acid version of the really absorbable acetyl L-carnitine at 600 milligrams. That's a powerhouse of those two together. And then with the quercetin, and you also have the coenzyme Q10 and the alpha lipoic acid. So on top of those beautiful adaptogenic herbs that we talked about. So it is a powerhouse formula for our cardiovascular systems, for our lipid control, for our blood sugar control, for our weight, for our splenic, tendencies. So,
yeah,
okay.
It's an amazing formula.
Let me go back. Let's see. Hold on. People are just loving, lots of loving this. Someone's here, Diana Reynolds, says she's on a beta blocker. She takes the LLV, the Mito2 Max, and all the supplements. That's great. And you can tell us your results, Diana. As a physician on a thing, I can't specifically speak to that in general.
Thank you for sharing that, Diana.
Okay, stuff back in the feed. What do you recommend for people who've had a bad experience with the LLV because they've had gallbladder surgery?
Well,
alternate protocol.
I would
have more. Yeah.
That protocol that I posted of Josie's would be perfect.
Yeah, I would go with the alternate protocol for like three months, and then try to work your way up, and also supplement. So for people who have had their gallbladders removed, the pancreatic enzymes are not enough. You need a specialized enzyme formula that also addresses some of the gallbladder with betaine, HCl, hydrochloric acid with beets in it. I would recommend that in addition to Arterazyme. Do you recommend that for people who have gallbladder removal?
Yes, and the other thing that you want to think about is the reason why people have their gallbladders removed is because their bile got too thick and, made stones. And so, Western medicines, kind of the way to solve that is just take that organ out. But what you really have to look at then is why did that occur? And so you then, if you got your liver left, it's sort of going to take over the function of the gallbladder in digesting the fats. And so you really then have to make sure that your liver is really healthy and happy. So you look at the Zendecrine products, and then any liver oils that you want to apply topically to support that. The citrus oils are great for the liver. You know, every question could be a whole hour, you know, on whatever we're talking about.
Yeah, there's right, exactly. Let's see. We're someone's asking if Terrazyme is okay for pregnant and breastfeeding mothers.
Erin takes it.
Yeah. I would say I have not heard of I can't think of a problem with that. Aisha, you on here? Did I miss some? How can we increase the flow of bile?
Good question.
Would the enzymes in Terrazyme or Zendecrine help?
Yes. And the Zendecrines especially, the liver loves like really dark leafy green vegetables, and it loves beets, it loves beet greens, it loves lemons. And one of my when I start to feel my liver and gallbladder becoming sluggish, I'll make a meal that has steamed beets and beet greens, and I'll put olive oil and lemon juice on it, and I'll notice just such a difference almost immediately. And then, you know, because I'm a practitioner, I do have targeted products that I'll use to thin the bile. But in terms of food, the liver loves those foods.
Yeah.
Vivian and Dr. Josie, can I give a shout out for our Zendecrine products?
Yeah, can you see here from Lisa? Aisha, she says, I only take Zendecrine during a cleanse, but since I don't have a gallbladder anymore, should I take it daily? So let's talk about that.
Yes, and I also want to add, for people struggling with migraines, oftentimes there can be a liver connection there, and I struggle with migraines. I find that the Zendecrine caps and oil, it makes a huge difference. So yeah, I love, and they're different. There's the herbal, which is like the nutrition for your liver, and then the oils, which are going to help you with the detox. So it's nice to take them both together.
Thank you, Aisha. That's so important and true. There's always, you know, with headaches, there's always, for the most part, going to be a liver connection.
Mm-hmm. And I was going to say, yeah, all the time, not just on the cleanse. I love taking 1 to 2 of the Zendecrine herbal complex, 1 to 2 of a Terrazyme, depending on how I'm feeling, and sometimes Zendecrine oil cap, and sometimes a probiotic, all before bed. That is my healthy morning poo recipe. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Josie's presentation on Fluma, I highly recommend that. All of her little tips and immune support with that. It's amazing.
Zendecrine oil caps or tablet. So both. Yeah, I love it. I'll take like at least 1 Terrazyme and 1 of the Zendecrine. The complex is the herbal capsule. And then the gel cap, I'll say Zendecrine gel cap when I mean that. So that's the oils. And I'll alternate around the oil gel cap. And mostly I take it most times before bed.
There's another question here that you might not be seeing. What oils can be applied directly to the spleen?
That's a good one.
Well, all of those oils that I listed, I love those oils, but now a lot of them are hot and spicy. So you're going to want to dilute. And if you have On Guard Touch, you can you know, just roll that on there directly. But I love any of those oils that I listed in the webinar. And then, you know, I mean, you can all, as a go-to digestive. If you don't remember even what you've always got Digest Zen. That's going to be good pretty much as a backup. You can't go wrong with, or even Slim and Sassy. But when you use those hot spicy oils, in particular cinnamon, you got to be really careful about topical application in terms of diluting them. But you could put, you can put geranium on there diluted, but the others be careful with. You kind of got to feel out your own skin sensitivity with those oils.
Okay, so we have a couple more questions. Going to try 4 more, and then we'll wrap it up. But I think these are great questions. So someone asked, I always feel like I'm coming down with something when I take the Zendocrine caps. Any advice? Yeah.
So
it's time for a doTERRA cleanse.
Yeah, why you get that, that's called a Herxheimer reaction. And what that means is that all of a sudden your body is releasing toxins that have been stored, and that it's having a little bit of difficulty getting them out of your body. So you're feeling a little crummy. And so what I tell people as they're starting to cleanse, and especially, the one that really can cause that is GX Assist, because there's nothing like a Candida corpse in your bloodstream to make you feel crummy, is if you're feeling a detox reaction, don't just keep plowing through trying to detox. Just take a break from your detox products and let it really clean out. But know that you've got some cleaning out to do. And you really have to think seriously about just what Josie said, doing a cleanse, because the reason why you feel like you're coming down with something, anytime you take an herb formula that allows the liver to clean itself out and you feel crummy, it means there's crummy stuff in your liver that needs to be cleaned out.
Can I just add a really important point here? I think is really important, especially if you're a wellness advocate and you're helping people with these products. So often someone might take a little bit of LLV and go, oh, it made me feel horrible, and then they just stop. Or one of these products. So I always love to reframe that and let people know this is really valuable information. And what this is telling us is that we need to support your body with some healthy detox. Would you be willing to step into that so we can work through this and get you to the point where you're feeling better? So whenever you have someone, just because people will freak out and go, I don't feel good, I'm not taking it. That happens so often, but you could be turning somebody's health around for the better by supporting them through a cleanse, through alternative protocols, to supporting their body until they're able to work up to a full dose. And Dr. Josie has done a beautiful job at giving us alternative protocols and the steps to help somebody with that. So that's just a really important piece. And or if you're experiencing that, then it's a good thing to ask yourself, okay, what do I need to do to support my body to work through so I'm not feeling crappy when I take a Zendocrine or when I'm taking the LLV?
Right.
Yeah,
I think, the first time I took a GX Assist, oh my God, it wasn't a happy thing. And it really made me realize that this was something I needed to work through. But you know what was so great about it? Number one, I realized that I had, pathogens in my gut that I needed to get rid of. But what worked, and you might try this, I found when you get a reaction like that, I have found that taking a Digest Zen gel cap really can calm down reactions like that. So after I'd taken the GX Assist and didn't feel so good, I took a Digestin gel cap, and just in a little while, it was like, oh, okay, that's fine. I can do that. So a lot of times when I have people starting things where I know they might be letting go of some gnarly stuff, I'll tell them, let's just have a bottle of Digestin gel caps on hand.
That's a great tip. And from both what you said and Aisha said, and some of the comments, I want to remind everyone that that alternate protocol that I came up with was exactly for these kind of situations. So it's when someone has, and it's not just the LLV, it's really if they have a reaction to natural medicine, right? They're having a reaction to working with their cleaning out some of the debris and toxins in their system. And it can happen just with starting to use the oils themselves without even going into internal dose or the supplements. And so I came up with the alternate protocol out of, people having these kind of reactions and working with a couple people as we went along, and then them having success. And it's a gentler way to gently build up and nourish their system and their detoxification pathways and their digestion before we get them to even the LLV. And it also came about as a result of doing cleanses and realizing that there were so many people out in the world who were really not ready to do a cleanse and had bad reactions to the cleanse.
Need help?
And
Pick it up and slide it over.
uh-oh. Someone, hi there. So
I am, but I got stuck on my shirt.
can you mute us, Aish? There we go. Okay, and cleanse, my real rule of thumb, and for people to have successful cleansing experiences and success with natural medicine, is that you should be up to your body absorbing and not having any problem with headaches, with detox reactions. Your bowels and pooping should be good with the full dose of the LLV. And someone should have taken essential oil internally some way and topically used it some way before you start them out on the cleanse with doTERRA. That's that baseline that's gonna let you know that their body is functioning properly enough to be able to clear and clean and do spring cleaning. Otherwise, some things are gonna happen. If someone's not up to the full dose of the LLV, don't start taking GX Assist and don't,
Because it was just like what I said in the beginning about why people have problems. Their liver, it has been missing all of these metabolic factors, and just starting the LLV is going to provide the liver with these missing cofactors, and that can just go into a cascade of detox without, like, in quote, using our detox products.
Yeah. So,
Dr. Josie, I want to make everybody aware that on our essentialwellness.life website, we have a tab that says LLV. And on that page, we have all this beautiful information from our beloved Dr. Josie. She has the alternative protocol. We have a deep dive to the LLV. And so that is your reference page for navigating and also sharing with new customers.
let's wrap up. This has been wonderful, so informative conversation, bringing it back to the tongue. And I love, Renee had a question with, have you seen the flabby indented tongue, so the spleen, damp spleen tongue, clear up with treatment? And if so, how long does it take?
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes it'll change, when just from, well, I'm talking about like if someone comes for a treatment, sometimes the tongue will change quite a bit just from an acupuncture treatment. But yes, absolutely. We want that tongue to change. We don't want it to see it all flabby and teeth marks like that. And yes, absolutely. Now, how fast will that occur? That so much depends on long you've had that particular pathology, then what you're doing, what kind of foods you're eating, what you know, how you're going forth in your life, and that's all dependent on the person specifically. So it's hard to say exactly how long it's going to take, but oh yes, the tongue changes as the balance is restored. The tongue will change. I wish I could give you a time frame, but there isn't, because it so depends on you know, what each person does going forward.
Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah.
I had she's a patient, but I did a telemedicine thing with her last week, and I only prescribed essential oils on acupuncture points, and I looked at her tongue via Zoom, and it was thick, had a very thick white coat, had indents on the side, and yesterday we did a follow-up, and her tongue was completely different. It was perfect pink, little clear, you know the perfect tongue, clear coat, moist. It was like, and that was only oils, you guys, only oils. That was in 1 week. So
Yeah,
it can be done for sure.
changes can happen quickly,
Thanks for
and
sharing.
sometimes they need to happen slowly. So,
You know, one thing I forgot to mention, I just want to say this before we wrap up, Josie, is with regard to the whole synthetic vitamin thing, and I forgot to mention this, the exception with the synthetic, a person is really, really sick. A lot of functional medicine doctors will use, like, for instance, very high doses of vitamin C in IVs and that thing. And when someone is very ill for a very short period of time, sometimes those pharmacological doses of synthetic vitamins can be helpful. And I just wanted to acknowledge that.
yeah, it's very true. Sometimes you got to match the intensity of what's going on, and sometimes you do that with there's wonderful IV treatments of IV vitamins, and those are synthetic for sure. All right, I keep saying we're going to close. We are going to close. I just saw Chrissy had a really great closing question, which is, I think it'll help wrap things up, is what makes your tongue change?
Well, it's just what Diane was alluding to from what she said. Your tongue changes. Like what? Well, let's just
what is
think
the
about
tongue
that.
a reflection of? I guess she's asking, right? Because we know what it is, but maybe people aren't really sure. Like, what does that mean?
Well,
what is it showing us?
It's showing us that all of a sudden that spleen, like let's say what, in relationship to what Diane just said, all of a sudden you don't have this fat tongue with the teeth marks, and it goes down to a normal size, a normal color where it's pink, it doesn't have a thick coat. What it means is all of a sudden your spleen is working. It's transforming the food and fluid properly. So what it means is you are, instead of storing your food, you're turning it into energy. It means that it's working again. And with regard to the tongue, we're not just talking about the spleen. We can tell everything about the body, but I just singled out the spleen thing because of that whole issue with cold. But tongue diagnosis in and of itself, I always say is my best friend, because it, people actually don't even have to tell me a whole lot. I look at their tongue and I can tell what's going on in the whole body. So basically, to answer your question, when the tongue presents itself in a normal way, you know that it got better. It's working now. Those organs are working now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think just letting people know that we use the tongue the way you would almost use it. We talk about the feet reflecting the whole body, and the ears, the tongue as well, and the different areas and regions of the tongue and how it presents is a diagnostic to reflect what's going on the inside. We can't see our heart and our digestive system, but it's reflected on our tongue. And so like they talk about the tip of the tongue reflecting what's going on in your cardiovascular system and your heart energies, but literally that whole system, right? And the spleen, you were talking about, those different aspects are shown in that ways. And so it's a key diagnostic tool that Chinese medicine has used for centuries and centuries, thousands and thousands of years. And so they have, that much clinical experience with it. And India, yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. There were a lot of other questions. I am sorry if I did not get to yours. I think we need to wrap it up. We're at 1:20. And thank you so much, Vivian. This was just fantastic. So much information. Everyone is just like, thank you on the chat.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us and being with us in this time and at Oil Talks. And we will see you. Aisha, what do we have coming up next?
Well, first of all, I just want to make sure, I know we announced this last call, but we are releasing all of the recordings of all of these calls, and they can be found on hellovisionary.life and or on essentialwellness.life. Just so you know the difference, Hello Visionary is all of Visionary Leaders team, so everybody that's under Erin, and then the Essential Wellness community starts kind of with everybody under my organization. However, everybody on Visionary Leaders under Jasmine and Juniper is welcome. We're all one big family, but if you're wondering why have I never heard of Essential Wellness, it's because it's kind of starts on my leg. So you can find the recordings and our notes on those 2 pages, and we're really excited to have this amazing catalog of recordings. Keep an eye out for pop-up talks. We'll definitely do this more, but as Dr. Josie said, our 10 o'clock team call every Wednesday is going to be a kind of just a shorter version of this, but we're going to really keep this theme going. The call is really meant for both customers, sharers, builders, for everybody. So please keep joining us at 10 o'clock. Next Tuesday, we will have another Oils Made Simple. And this is a wonderful call to come to. It's just a basic oil class to bring anybody in your life or your family that you want to introduce essential oils to, but maybe you're not comfortable yet with how to share essential oils with them. And then also we have an amazing webinar coming up. It won't be till June, but it's with Stephanie King, and she's going to be sharing her journey with cancer. And thriving through her diagnosis and her recovery and into today. So look for that on all of our event schedules. And then of course, Leadership on Friday. So I think I covered that. Hopefully we have so much going on. And I will say one more thing. Next Wednesday on our Visionary Leaders call, we actually have Jake Reese from corporate joining us. So it will be more focused on business. But if you want to hear from corporate and hear more about the doTERRA business, come join us for that call next Wednesday at 10. And then the call after that will start more the Oil Talks format. I think that's it, Josie. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That was amazing. That was so good.
Oh, thanks. Love you, everybody.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Love you,
You
everyone.
guys did great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. See you.